All right, so welcome everybody to the October workshop of Autism Empowerment's Neurodivergent Creators Collective. So glad to have you all with us today. I guess if we can advance this next slide. Yep, so this is go back to the other one, please. Yeah, so this is the story building for publication and production. And we have a wonderful panel of guest speakers and me today. So we can go to the next slide, please. We have Karen Maseng, Trelanda Lowe, and Ali Halliburton. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here and doing this. We're very honored and privileged to have you as our panel today. So we're going to just be talking about um, basically just doing like talking about the creative process from a neurodivergent perspective. And so we'll do introductions first, and then after that, we'll just kind of have like a panel discussion with questions, and we'll just chime in, and we'll go from there. And then we'll probably do that for about maybe 40, 45-ish minutes, and then leave the last 15 to 20 minutes for questions. And just put your questions in the chat, and one of our esteemed staff members will be tracking that, and we'll get to that at the end. So welcome everybody. Yeah, let's go into introductions. Next slide, please. So I'm Brian Tashima. I wear a bunch of different hats. I am an author primarily of the Joel Suzuki series of young adult science fiction fantasy novels. It's a 7-book series that is complete. There may be more, but we'll see how that goes. I'm also a filmmaker. I write scripts. I'm a screenwriter, a director, producer. I produced and directed a short film called Hold My Beer, which was like 39 minutes. It was about an autistic young adult who discovers a passion for craft beer and embarks on a mission to open his own brew pub. I am also a podcast host. I'm a musician, play guitar and scream mostly in tune most of the time. And we've put out like about 4 albums with my band. And I've done a bunch of other things. So yeah, I like to keep busy. So that's me. Karen, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry, my name is Karen. I also wear and have worn many hats. I was a casting director in Los Angeles for many, many years. And then I moved to Portland. I coach actors. I've also started directing. I have a web series called Unraveled, which I'm very proud of. And I write, and yeah, you can hear my voice at the end of the episode 5 if you watch all the 5 episodes of the Unraveled. And Unraveled is about a teenage girl who gets into trouble in school, and the school forces family to do family therapy. And all that happens, and no therapist lasts more than 1 session with his family. So anyways, so that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Karen. Next, I think is Tree. Tree, want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Trelanda Lowe, but I go by Tree. I'm a writer, a producer, editor-in-chief. I wear multiple hats: podcaster, post-production supervisor, visual effects artist, photographer, so many more. I am a podcast host of Phenomenal Disabilities. I run an online magazine publication called Bourgeois Magazine LA. My production company is Vision Ed Media. I've done collaborations with AD Lead-On, Lights Camera Access, and other corporations where we actually collaborated on a multitude of projects that deal with ADA acceptable feature embedding and other projects as well.
Cool.
Hi. Yeah, a lot of hats on everyone. I'm formally trained as an animator. The most work I've done is with digital illustration, mostly commission work, some contract. I have also been a very unwilling but like supportive actor in a lot of shorts that went into like film festivals and YouTube parody videos. I've worked on one major film in the art department. That was a very interesting day. And yeah, really passionate about character designing the most. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. All right. So yeah, I guess we can just kind of go into the panel discussion. I guess we can start by there's a thing that came up in we had our chill and chat session, which is the monthly just kind of informal get together of the Neurodivergent Creators Collective on the first Saturday of every month. And at our most recent meeting, I kind of gave everybody a preview of what we'd be talking about by bringing up I guess like a challenge. Like what kind of challenges have you faced in the creative process from an autistic or neurodivergent perspective? And then I shared that I have this obsessive need to be caught up with everything at the end of the day. um, it's it's kind of I don't know. It's really it's kind of bad. And so in filmmaking, I found out that you can never be caught up at the end of each day. It's impossible. There are always loose ends when it comes to filmmaking. Like I would go to bed thinking about, okay, well, that actor said they may or may not be able to make it on Sunday, or like that location that like they said, oh, they just, oh, I'll have to get back to you next week. Everything it's always up in the air. There's always something pending, and it's never like as an author. I was able to be caught up because I would just, make my word count goal for the day or whatever it was. And like, okay, I wrote 500 words. I'm good. I'm done. Like tomorrow is another 500 words or whatever. But in filmmaking, that was something that I really had to learn how to kind of get used to and to not be stressed out all the time because I had to get used to the idea of not being caught up at the end of every day. So that's something that I shared. So I don't know if one of our other panelists can maybe share some of their challenges. Who wants
I'm
to go?
happy to go unless somebody wants to jump in before me.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm probably one of the older ones here, and so I can tell you that when I was younger, people would say, because I was interested in music, I would sing, I'd write, but I was also interested in writing, right? And I was also interested in this and interested in that. And people said, nope, you have to pick one thing and just do that. So I would do one thing and then I'd get bored, and then I'd go to something else and get bored, and I would never complete anything and it took decades to finally say, you know what? I don't care about what anybody says. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to do all these things. And when I started giving myself permission to do that, that's when I started to create more. I will say Mac, the computer, when Apple came out with the first in the 90s, that really helped organize my brain because everything was all over the place, and this kind of helped me organize everything, and it was incredibly, it made an incredible change in my life. But also embracing not listening to what people think how you should be doing it. Because then when I started wanting to make films, no, you have to do it this way. And this is how you do it. And so I didn't do anything again until I finally said, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. And yes, it took me 3 years, but I did it my way. And I would never do it any other way again, ever. And there's something so liberating about learning that, hey, yeah, you can do it this way. You have people who are willing to work with you if you respect them and their time and make it a collaborative effort. And at the end of it, I start to think, I don't like the way they make movies because I think the traditional way is very restrictive, and it's not artistic, and it's not creative. And so anyways, those have been my challenges that I'm very proud to say that I finally have unshackled myself from what other people think, how you should write, how you should make films, how you should write music. Do your thing.
Cool. Was there any kind of like a specific light bulb moment, or was it more just sort of a gradual evolution over time?
I think it was when I had bought a camera in those days, before the iPhone. So I spent a lot of money buying the camera, and the camera sat there for quite a while. I want to do this, I want to do that, but I need to do it this way. And finally I said, I remember the Nike thing, just do it. And I remember saying to myself, do it badly. Who cares? Just do it. And my students will know, I tell actors also, do it badly. It's okay. Fail, but just do it. So I just grabbed two of my neighbors, grabbed my friend Michael. We went out to the parking lot. I didn't care if they were going to say yes or no, Whole Foods. We went out there and we shot it, and that's how I started. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I really I like that the just do it philosophy. That's kind of how I approach everything that I've done as well.
yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen. Who wants to go? Allie?
Yeah, I can go. A big thing for me, like one of the biggest hindrances was anxiety. Just with like when you grow up diverse, it's kind of pretty rough. And the side effect of that was I get very anxious. And when I get very anxious, I tend to avoid anything that causes that. And so just learning to kind of overcome that first before I even started to really get creative. Because you don't want anyone, I didn't want anyone to see what I was making or what I was doing. And that's not how this works. You really have to be able to put yourself out there and show people the things that you're making to get anything done. And so you kind of have to really become more comfortable with yourself and really accept the parts of yourself that maybe you don't really like all that much and use them in the creative process, because everyone has those parts that they don't really like. And like the best creators are using the parts of themselves that are very different and very vulnerable. And that can be very scary, but it can be really rewarding because then people say, I see myself in that too. And then you make connections.
Cool. Yeah. Were there any like specific kind of techniques that maybe helped you overcome anxiety?
Yes. So I am in therapy, and it is, I think if you're at a point where this is changing the way you want to live your life for the worse, you should get professional help if you're able. But the main thing you need to do is you need to make friends with the voice in your head that catastrophizes. You need to get him on your side, him or her on your side. You need to become a team with them. So mine looks like a giraffe. And he's just big, and he tries to take up the least amount of space possible. And you need to say, hey, I see what you're doing. I see you're trying to be protective, but I don't need you to do that right now. I can handle it. And then that can begin to open you up a lot.
I love that you made him a giraffe. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That way you have an image of like of
Yeah.
who you're talking to, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Once you give them an image, it becomes a lot easier to connect with them. And once you can connect with them, you can change them.
that's awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Treat?
Yeah, yeah, I would say for me, because I have multiple neurodivergent disabilities, I would say I have anxiety, ADHD, I have onset flow disorder where I do stutter. So a lot of for me is, you know, learning how to find my way creatively was just taking a lot of information in from all my mentors, my, professors and all the people involved, and trying to guide me in the right direction, therapists and so forth, um, working out and so forth. A lot of it too is I would say my biggest inspiration that motivated me to really get out there and I would say not allow myself to be in fear of myself, of who I am, is creating my own podcast. Now, as the individual having stutter over the years, this is more of a helpful therapy for myself, but also to uh, an opportunity for others to be able to talk about themselves, what they are doing in the community, the insights that they can provide, their background of what they experience and so forth. So I'd say anyone who's navigating their neurodivergent disabilities, don't let it be a hindrance. Continue doing what you're doing. Map out your ideas. Um, it may not be perfect the first time. Believe me, I've sat and uh, rewritten the script, all my scripts numerous of times, and had my mentors like, nope, go back. And there was moments of frustration, but when you take a moment and remove the frustration and hear the information is coming in and you go, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And then it guides you to where you really are, you're going to go creatively, or you want to go. So I would say, be yourself. Never, let others second guess you, or, just reach for the sky.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, I know you mentioned mentors. That's one of our objectives here with the Neurodivergent Careers Collective is we want to be able to provide mentorship in various creative fields, to our members. So when you say you had mentors, like where did you find them? Like, was it just through personal network or connections?
Family, friends, colleagues, uh, professors at school,
Mm.
uh, college friends at school. You know, they have always been the biggest asset in my life. Tutors. I'm in my last year of the MBA program, so it's my third degree I'm working on. So a lot of people are like, wow, you're working your third degree, it must be easy. No, it's not. Especially when you're working, I would say, in a business. I say your focus in business administration field. So it deals with a lot of number crunching, a lot of information is coming in. So for someone like myself, who is more of a creative thinker, use my creative side of my brain, it took a lot for me to navigate on the other side of my brain.
Mhm. Yep, totally understand. Did you find that like were any of your mentors also neurodivergent, or if they weren't, like were they like how did they like come to an understanding of working with you? Like, did they were they accepting and kind of like, accommodating?
Can I answer that question really quickly? I would say a good example, because I'm in the MBA program. I had a professor who has dyslexia, and he approached me one day and says, I believe you have dyslexia to math. And I was like, really? He says, a lot of times people misunderstand ADHD, or kind of get confused that ADHD is one thing and dyslexia is another, but sometimes they can go hand in hand. So it's not always reading. And actually, I was actually grateful that he brought that to my attention, because he's a fellow, neurodivergent as well.
Okay, cool, great. Thanks for the great to know. So I am going to put a fellow team member on the spot here, but Gwen Larry, in case anybody doesn't know, is the co-lead of the Neurodivergent Creators Collective. And it was thanks to Gwen's efforts that we have this panel today. She was the one who coordinated and got our wonderful panelists together. So, Gwen, do you have any questions for the panel?
Um, One of the biggest challenges that all of us face is we get these little ideas for stories. And so, going back to our last chill and chat session, we're talking about a very young dragon that spits fire. Well, he burps fire, and so he's setting things on fire by accident. And in my understanding, story building is going to take that little dragon and give him a world and give him friends and goals and all of that. Meg Eden counseled us last month that if you get really stuck on how to build the story, maybe kind of chisel in on what's the beginning, the middle, and the end, which isn't a bad idea and is helpful. But I'm really curious to know what works for the four of you with your completed projects. How did you build this story into a finished project?
I can start with that one.
Yes.
All right. So you need to get into role play. Like first of all, you need to get into, because every creative, like the film industry is incredibly collaborative. Like not one person is just going to be making this story. It's going to be input from directors and producers, and sometimes even actors are going to be like, well, I feel this and this. And you need to learn to be very collaborative with your work. You need to learn to not be too precious. Things are going to change, maybe sometimes even on the day of. Which is really, it's hard, especially when you're used to, you get into a routine, you need predictability often. But you just need to understand that the routine is going to be unpredictability, and to just prepare for that going in. But collaborative storytelling is where you're going to really learn all the foundational things that you need to take into your professional work. You need to get into like playing a D20 game with friends. You need to try looking into Dungeons and Dragons. You need to go to role play forums. Like these are where you're going to learn to make stories in these really low stakes area. And then you're going to bring it into the higher stakes area.
Oh. Karen, how did
Yeah.
you pull together
Well,
Unraveled?
well, as you know, Unraveled took so many iterations. I never, when we started, it was going to be something that was 12 episodes. It was going to be 5 episodes of the sessions, and I'll go back and film what really happened. It kept morphing as time went by, and I was great with that. I didn't care. I went where it took me. It was really important for me to go where it took me, because that's my process, right? So going to what Ali said, certainly collaborative. But, if we do a little meeting about just ideas, then I'd go and I take them, and it would take me in a different direction. So for one example of how something happened, I finished filming the 2nd episode. I edited, took me about 2 months. How I would do it is I would pick my favorite clips, and then I would write a narrative for the kid, for the teenager to then I would film myself doing it, and then I'd have the teenager do it. But then I had an idea, would be great if, because in episode 2, the mother leaves at the end of the therapy session, she leaves in a huff. She's angry. And I said, it would be a great idea if right after that, when the session ends, she has a fight with her husband. She goes down there and says, you know what, next time I'm picking the therapist. Not you, I'm picking the therapist. So Neil and so now it's 3 months later, right? So the actress said, oh no, I cut my hair. And it was supposed to be right after. I said, don't worry about it. I'll write something. And so that took me in the direction of, okay, let's say that after she immediately leaves and she has a routine, and it was so much fun. It was like a magical mystery tour to craft her journey. She flies to LA. She goes to the most expensive hair salon where some asshole cuts her hair. Then she goes to the most expensive restaurant, and then she goes to Napa where she gets all these expensive treatments. And that, because Tracy cut her hair, but that became an integral part of the story later, because that's the routine that she goes through. Now, again, Gwen, to say, so it was going to be at the beginning of, it was at the beginning of episode 3, where the kid says, so last time, as you remember, at the end of the session, Mandy left, but she didn't just leave, she went to Napa. But then I saw that by the time we shot the 3rd episode, the kid looked a year older. So now I changed that again, and I cut some of what she said in the beginning, because she said Mandy left right after. And I wrote a title card that said, it's been months since the last session, and Mandy's been on business trips and so forth. And then I melted into the end of her kind of intro. So that's, to me, the process. As it goes, I let it go where it goes, right? Originally, I was going to have everybody hate the kid and not realize till the end that there's something wrong with the parents. But in episode 2, Michael, who played Deshaun Shabazz, who played the therapist, he liked the kid. And I said, you know what, forget that. Go with what you want. Like the kid, we'll take it in that direction. So I just let things, I don't box anything and say, this is how it's supposed to be. I just let it go where it goes. And for me, that's an incredibly fun part of the process. So it's very improvisational in many ways. And in some ways, there's tremendous amount of backstory.
Very cool. Brian, how did you build Hold My Beer?
Yeah, I think, you know, in all the projects that I do, actually, it comes from a sense of purpose. Like, backing up to the Joel Suzuki series before Hold My Beer, like I had always wanted to write a book. Like, I'm a huge reader. I'm a fan of, you know, science fiction, fantasy novels. I've been reading it since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to write a novel, but I just never really had the kind of the inspiration or the motivation to see it through. I would start and stop and throw it away, and but then like one year back in 2010 it was, my son, who is autistic, he came up to me out of the blue and just you know, like he asked me, "Hey Dad, can you write me a book?" I was like, "What?" Like, okay. And so that was kind of how it started, how the whole book series started, because I was writing it for him. You know, I was writing for somebody. And so that kind of got me rolling, and then so that gave me the I guess like the motivation to kind of like really just, you know, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna finish it this time. And so and after I wrote the first book for him, I kind of got the idea that maybe I should be writing this for not just for my son, but for, you know, like autistic kids everywhere, where I wanted to give them sort of their own literary hero that, you know, they could kind of like look up to and identify with. So that kind of gave me the drive and the impetus to, you know, to see that project all the way through. And I tend to be like, I envision things, I see things in my head, like I see the end product in my head, you know, as I'm doing, you know, before I start or as I'm doing it. And then like once I get that image in my head or that vision, I have to, you know, I have to make it happen. Like once I get started, like once I see it, I have to turn it into reality. Otherwise, it just kind of sits there and like, oh, what am I going to do with this? You know, so so that kind of gives me the incentive to keep going. That's kind of how Hold My Beer, the film, turned out as well, because I wanted to, like, now everything I do is now about autistic representation, positive autistic representation, you know, positive and respectful. And so like Hold My Beer was just another chapter in that whole process where I wanted to make this film that had, you know, an autistic protagonist. And you know, we wanted to have autistic and neurodivergent representation both in front of and behind the camera. So like half of our cast and crew identify as neurodivergent. So it's all part of this big, um, I guess, mission, I guess, that I'm on in life. And like it's my purpose, I feel. And like that's kind of what gets me up in the morning and what allows me to do these things. And at times when you feel, or when I feel like, you know, like, oh, like, do I really have to do this today? It's like, yes, I do. So yeah, that's kind of what drives me.
Wow. And Tree, I know you are the busiest woman I know. I have no idea how you can juggle so many things, doing your advocacy, doing your editor work, doing your publication editing, plus phenomenal disabilities. I mean, how do you build a story is the basic question, but for you particularly, I have to say, how the heck do you do it? All of it, all at once.
I mean, it seems like it's all, well, some stuff, depending certain, I don't know, it seems like they're all at once, but not actually. But I think what I've been doing was just kind of, I'll give you a great example. When I worked on my film Delusional State, it was during my grad year, with focusing on my MFA. And that was more like, because I knew exactly what I wanted with the story, because it dealt with um, people who were dealing with navigating um, uh, family dysfunctions, navigating sobriety and other issues and so forth. So for me, is writing content like that, is very close to home to me, because I am also an individual from the sobriety community as well. So it's been a, I would say, when you're writing stories, find something that you connect with, that drives you, that really drives the audience, that makes them really want to see your your film itself, or music video, whatever you have. Or if you're a photographer, find the core message where you're trying to guide it at, because I think because I knew where I wanted to go with that, with delusional state, came easy for me to be able to purge out my thoughts of because of the characters that I interacted with in my life, or maybe those characters in my script that are made up that I thought will bring a lot of flavor, to the story. Because sometimes when you're looking at your script and you go, okay, I need to really punch this up. It's not driving the story. This character is not driving it. My professors always say, if that character's not driving the story, X them out.
Right.
You know, and I've learned. I used to go, no, no, no. I was like, yes, you have to sacrifice. Learn to sacrifice where to what's most important and what's the most important focus. How are you connecting to the audience? Not only just that is I did a lot of research, the seeing if there were other creatives out there who had the same story concept as mine, because mine is more of a supernatural type of story. So it's more of I had to really be prepared to make sure that there was no one else with the same concept, because a lot of times when you go out there and you're trying to produce your work or present it to networks, and they'll say, "Well, sorry, we've signed that. What else you got? We already had to present to us, or it's already been done." You know, um, for me, for delusional state, what inspired me because of the supernatural, because it's not only dealing with just as one character because his own sobriety, but I used to watch a lot of like Lucifer, Highway to Heaven, all those type of supernatural shows. So that's what like really inspired me to push me forward to write content like that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, classic shows like that. People might say, "Oh my God, really?" But I love those shows, and just seeing the creative process those creatives went through to really keep you engaged. But as far as like how I navigate with all my what I've been doing, I would say there's been moments where I'd say I had a lot. Okay, let me take it back 1,000, map everything out, make a list, a checkoff list, and then, you know, check off each one at a time. And that way I'm not um, overwhelmed. And I would say that's a good way for any of you to, when you're creating your projects, make sure you're not um, al- allowing yourself getting into multiples of areas where you are feeling overwhelmed. Make sure you understand that you know that you're confident enough that you can be able to handle it. If you say, okay, I can't handle it, be honest, I got to push back, I'll pull back. Um, and that's where and the collaborative uh, effort is allow others to participate with your projects. That's the biggest thing. And like Ellie was saying, is collaboration. The biggest key is how you get things done, how you can drive stories, how you can explore other ideas. I had a couple, multiple of the producers were on my projects where I said, no, I cannot do this by myself. Um, and they're giving their input, their research and legal information, all the information that's tied into being a producer.
I have if I may add one more thing, because
Please.
about feeling overwhelmed, because I have 2 projects plus this. And when I find myself getting overwhelmed, I'll say, okay, spend an hour doing this, put that on the calendar every day, an hour, and make sure that you do this for an hour and do this for an hour. And you'd be amazed how much you accomplish in an hour.
Yep.
And so it doesn't feel overwhelming, right? So, and then, then you can expand on that. So even if you have 3 things, okay, an hour on this, an hour on this, and an hour on this. And then it doesn't become like this giant thing that you just melt down. And anyway, for me, that helps a lot.
I totally agree with you, Karen, because that's the biggest, that's the biggest lecture my professors always has stressed to us in school as writers. Make sure you take, when you're gonna write an hour a day, it should write one page an hour a day. You can go back to it again, revise it later on, but you can get a lot done just 1 hour. Then that way you're not focusing, the whole entire day on it, but just, you're absolutely right.
And sometimes working on one thing inspires you with the other thing.
Exactly.
Right. So if I'm working on one project and I'm making a breakthrough in that project, oh, it's been more than an hour. Okay, it's not rigid. Okay, oh, it's been an hour and a half, whatever. It doesn't matter. Now I go, oh, wait a minute, I have an idea for the other one now. So let me jump to that. So it becomes the ADD becomes a gift and an inspiration rather than shutting you down.
Mhm.
I also would like to add in that I saw someone earlier post that they doubt, they'll start working and then they'll immediately start doubting everything they're doing. The perfect story in your brain is never going to be worth as much as the imperfect story that's outside of your brain that you can like put on paper.
Exactly.
Like it is so much more rewarding to make something imperfect that's finished and yours, because then you can workshop.
Right.
But nothing looks good when you're in the middle of doing it. I mean, like certain points will be like, oh, this one little thing I like. But if you look at your projects and you're like, nothing I see I like right now, trust the process a little more. Maybe walk away from it for a day, come back to it, see if it looks different, give it to someone else. Like, what do you think about this? Like other people's opinions, even if they're not artistic, go a long way.
Along those lines, I had a question about like I know we've been talking about collaboration, which is important to us here at the collective, but like how do you deal with sometimes you run into challenges with collaboration where like maybe it's somebody that you're working with, you don't really see eye to eye creatively, or like who makes the final decision, or is that a source of stress, or how do you folks deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it is stressful, and Gwen will attest. I mean, we're working on something now. There's one person who's a little assertive, but at the end of the day, I remind them, I'm the director. You can go direct your thing. That's fine. But at the end, and you sing nicely. You say, okay, no, this is what I like, and this is what I want, and that's how it's going to be, and that's okay. If you have the title of director and creator, it's okay to say that when somebody, and they're always okay, and if they're not, well, then you resolve it. But don't be afraid at the end of the day to be the owner and the director, is what I would say to you. It's nothing mean. It's just, I'm the boss. In this particular instant, in your thing, you're the boss. And then you could do whatever you want, and you can tell me to do, whatever you want me to tell me to do. But, and in this here, it's fine to say, I don't agree with that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't agree with that. Doesn't work for me.
And as I come at these things as an actor, I'm getting your scripts, I'm getting your ideas. Karen and I have talked a lot about backstory, but my brain's going on backstory. I have written pages, and there's times that I'll come to the director with this wonderful backstory I've built, and they're like, no, your character has not been training horses for the past 5 years. Your character's been working at Walmart. You're slow, you're lazy, you work at Walmart. And that's that collaboration, that's that back and forth. Maybe there's something from my horse training that I can bring into the Walmart scenario. But the point of all of it is we have to communicate, we have to talk.
And sometimes though, Gwen, as an actor, and I'll tell you that you also want to figure out the director, and is the director a collaborative one or not? And if they're not, don't tell them your backstory. Because your backstory is for you.
It's true.
You just say yes to whatever they want, and then you let your backstory inspire you. And so often, a director won't know. He'll say, wow, that was fantastic. And you'll say, thank you so much. And if he'll say to you, did what I say help you? Absolutely. Because your process is your process. So it's a question of understanding, an interpersonal relationship and understanding, does somebody want to collaborate with you? And I sat through thousands of callbacks with directors, and a lot of them were not people you wanted to share with, and some of them were absolutely people who were helpful and wanted to help the actor. But so you have to kind of feel it out and see, okay, who is receptive and who isn't, and work with whatever you have.
I get to come from the exact opposite area of this, where doing commission work and contract work, I'm working for clients and
Right.
companies.
Yeah.
They have final say on everything, and
Right.
you're making artistic choices and designs for someone who's not themselves usually very artistic. So at the beginning, it was kind of a struggle. I'm like, this would be so much better this way. Like, do you tell them that? Do you don't tell them that? And what I've learned is, when the person you're working for is happy with what's happening, that's fine. You can make your own art for yourself whenever. When you're working for a client, you are making them happy.
Right.
And you need to find whatever joy you get in that as well. Even if you're not doing exactly what you wanted it to be, you can find the little parts of it that belong to you.
Right.
Like, I had to do a very large scale commission. It became a giant mosaic heart. And I had to design this like several feet wide heart covered in these flowers. And I had no choices on like what it would look like or the shape of it, but I picked out all these little flowers that I did like flower meaning I looked into to make it fun for myself. Like, I'm going to put all these flowers that mean like happiness and like unity in there. And you find the parts of it that you can own when someone else is in charge.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on that because that's a great point that Ali brought up. And like, so the way I do it, like I'm generally a control freak. Like when I said I have a vision of things in my head, like, oh, it has to be this way. But over the years, I've learned to kind of like separate that out. So like, okay, well, I'm going to have just this one thing that is just me, and I have 100% control over that, which turned out to be my book series. And then all this other stuff I put in this other space in my head labeled, collaboration. Like, okay, it's okay to have other people's input and all, like I'm gonna let these things go, out of my, like normally my control freak tendencies. I'm gonna let that go for here. As long as I have this one thing that I can call my own, it's okay to, work with other people and incorporate their ideas for these other things. So I
Right.
kind of put it in different boxes.
John Cassavetes was a filmmaker I loved, and he was famous for, okay, I'm going to make a Hollywood film and make the money and use it to make the film that I want to make about something else, where they have no control, right?
Yep.
And so his Hollywood films, as much as he hated them, still had Cassavetes' imprint on them, right? So even though he thought he sold out to them, he still had parts of himself in his films. And then the films that he loved that, not many people loved, but were special in his, he got to do that. So, we all kind of find a way to maneuver around, doing our thing and working for other people. Yeah, opening night was one of his, James, I saw he said opening night. Opening night was one of his films, and that was not a crowd pleaser. It was very artistic and extraordinary performance. If you haven't seen it, guys, it's tough to look at, but Jenna Rowlands is probably one of the most extraordinary performances ever.
I want to piggyback off of what you guys were talking about. Honestly, I've done that collaboration with so many artists and professionals in the industry. And I found that because I have taken on the lead role of specific position, if I'm if I'm a graphic designer or if I'm doing certain specific thing, I I would say honestly, even though I presented multitudes of ideas and also giving the client some, you know, examples of what other are how how things are evolving now because of the artists now today and where we need to make some shifts and adjustments. I work with clients where they may have been set and have a set style that's more of a older way of thinking, or they just are just set in their ways, but they don't want to change. But I think when you try to like present other ideas, just maybe one that you're so close to, give them a multiples of ideas, and they're going, oh, I didn't think of it like that. Oh, okay. Hmm. All right. Well, let's throw a little bit of that in there. Let's see how it works. If it doesn't work, we'll try something a little, maybe just rearrange it, And for me, I'm always open to um, ideas and input, and offering what I have as a creative, to put, you know, on the table for this client or from with my collaboration, because my name is on it as well and everyone else's name is on it. So we're all about unity, and we have to think in that mindset going, okay, well, wait a minute. It's not just me, it's about all of us. We gotta, okay, let me just hold the horse, hold it back.
Exactly. Well, we have about 10 more minutes. Did any of our members have questions that they would like to have us pass on to the presenters? I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat. I'm not really good at it.
I didn't see any questions in the chat unless I missed it. Brian, do you know if there were any? I'm scrolling through it now, but
I didn't see any questions.
oh, here's
Oh,
one
we
right
have
here.
someone raising their hand.
Oh, well,
Hello.
okay, Joe, and then we'll get to V's question.
Karen brought up an interesting point about how an Apple PC helped her organize her brain. I'm a Microsoft guy for what it's worth. And I was wondering, did any of you three have any particular software programs that helped in terms of organizing? Because I have the same qualities as all of you three. I struggle to get motivated. I get anxiety. I procrastinate. I get easily distracted. So I'm trying to figure out how to prioritize all the ideas I have in addition to living my personal life.
I can answer that one. For school, I use this software which is called Genio, which it's really helpful for a lot of us in class, where um, it not only just records the professor speaking, but you're able to write notes, bullet points, ideas, and so forth. So that helps me on the academic level. But as far as with software using outside of school, I'll say in school, Notepad, Microsoft Word, any other, my notebook, my phone. I might, voice leave a voice message of all the notes on my what the ideas I have, and I'll transcribe it and put in, on my computer. There's so many various ideas. I have highlighters. Endless, just, keeping organized, which is very helpful, like certain keywords that focus on a specific subject and what you're learning. Like it can be maybe, for example, it's like, okay, I'm learning about regression and statistics. Okay, what does that mean? What does that word mean? You have so many definitions you have to understand. So you're like, okay, and you break down in small, you know, uh enough so you can be, okay, got it. I got the gist of it. I don't need the whole long detail of the information. I understand it. I broke it down to what I can memorize it.
I got a good one as well for focusing down. On the software side, there's Zen Writer. which is a program that kind of pulls all distractions off a screen and just full screens you into what you're doing if you're a writer. So that's really helpful for some people. I have a few friends who have ADHD and they were unmedicated for a while. So things that really helped them was you need a space. It can be a mental space. It can be a physical space that is just for work. When I go to this space, I am not doing anything else but what I'm supposed to be doing right now. My work, my project, my organization. If you don't have a lot of space to work with, it can be maybe like a specific chair or something. It can be like a type of music you listen to. Anything that will help your brain learn to recognize it as this is what happens when I'm getting focused down. And over time, as you do that, your brain's going to latch onto it and it's going to build a bridge in your connection to be like, okay, this is what's focusing right now.
I was going to add one more thing to it too. If you have like a buddy that you that helps you as well, because sometimes I have a few friends that will sit and I'll write some ideas down on, and I get sidetracked and they say, wait, slow down. Remember you mentioned about that one idea about, I said, yeah. And so put that here. And like, oh, because sometimes you get on the roll when you're speaking and you don't hear yourself speak.
Yeah.
It may be a great idea and somebody, well, stop. I'm like, what did I just say? What did I do? So it's always good to have a, like in collaboration, like a friend or someone, family, whoever is, you know, to, help as well with notes as well. If you're not good at notes, I've had friends that help me with notes as well in the past.
For me, just I like to organize things to bring order to the chaos. So I have very few things on my home screen, and they're going to be folders with projects that I'm working on. And within the folders, and there's more, everything is labeled so that it's easier for me to kind of go to where I need to go to. Oh, I need to work on this. Oh, there's episode 1. I labeled it episode 1. Now I go in there and everything is organized, because otherwise the brain is chaotic.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you for all of those. And from V asked, can each panelist share a piece of advice they have received that was meaningful to them? So like your best piece of advice.
Mm.
Oh, V, you made them think. Good job.
I don't know that it was a piece of advice that pops to my mind, but I remember, I'll never forget, because back to what somebody was saying before about Ali, I think you were talking about, oh, it's not good enough, I'm not going to do it. And, or, I'll never forget, because I was always a perfectionist. And then, and this is back when I was acting, but I was watching an interview with Kenneth Branagh, and the interviewer asked him, so Mr. Branagh, in this film, what were you thinking? And he said, oh, I was dreadful in that movie. It was absolutely awful. And I went, oh, you can be awful. That's great. I don't know why that resonated with me. After that, I started doing things because it's okay. You can be awful. And that's when you start being good.
Yes.
When you give yourself permission to be awful. So that's I think, so it wasn't a person I knew, but it was, it was still, it resonated with me.
I can go next.
Yes.
I got 2 of them. One is, it wasn't advice given to me, but it was if you feel like you can't do something, pretend you're someone who you think could do it and then do it. Like if you can kind of trick yourself into doing a lot more than you think you can, if you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's more confident than you. It can be a favorite character, it could be anything. Another really good piece of advice that I got was do it scared. Just like if you're waiting to not be scared to do something, it's not going to get done. You need to just do it scared, and you need to start doing it before you can start talking yourself out of doing it.
Yeah.
You just have to say go and do it. And then once you're doing it, that fear is going to lessen a lot. It's that starting point that's going to be the worst usually.
I have a few of them. I know we always hear the word the word of no, or we've heard the word no, of rejection, going to places to present our work and say no, I'm not interested, and so forth. Um, I say n- uh, I was told to don't take it as a negative. Don't reflect as a negative. Reflect it, turn it into a positive, and go, okay, all right. Maybe there's something I need to revisit, or maybe, this wasn't suited for them, but I would say never take what you do when you're presenting to others and you're hearing their input as a negative, because what they're providing you could be very beneficial towards where you can, expand your creativity, expand where you need to go, your objectives, for your business plan, for, your, if you're doing a film, writing a script, uh, you're a journalist, you're a photographer, always take the advice. And even if you don't agree with it, just go, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Another is always, before you present your concepts to anyone, make sure you have everything submitted to every copyright platform so you're protected. Because there's so many people that you see that just in the industry you see it constantly, where you'll see, wait a minute, I remember that film. Wait a minute, I wrote that, but they'll change the character a little bit, or change the story, the title, and so you have to always have an NDA, who you're going to be speaking to, and so forth. Protect yourself, your self-interest, And again, so get back into this, like I said, turning the negative into positive. Please, please, please don't get frustrated by that.
All right, we have about 1 minute left, so we have one question. Let's just do it real quick. Is what's your favorite way to de-stress from projects? I like to do meditation and video games.
I like going for walks.
I'm seconding the walks. Go
Yeah,
for walks. They're
anytime I
fantastic.
get, I'll walk, because it de-stresses me, but also it gives me ideas as I'm walking, I'm talking, and I don't care who looks at me. I talk to myself because I'm bouncing ideas in my head. I don't care if, and I'll tell you something, as somebody who's probably the oldest one here. When you get to be my age, you don't care what people think anymore.
Looking
And so
forward to
share
that.
with you.
it's so liberating. I cannot tell you. Oh, she's a crazy old lady. Yep. I don't
Trudy, how
care.
do you relax?
I would say, the gym, one, I love going to the gym. That's my relaxation. Hanging with my community of people, just being family, friends, my sobriety group of community friends, going to a movie, listening to music and just dance, you know. I'm an 80s gal, so I love my 80s, alternative music, and I just dance.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Karen, Allie, Tree, thank you so much for being on our panel. And thanks to all the members who joined us. That was a great panel. It just flew on by. Before I knew it, was like, hey, it's almost 4 o'clock. But again, yeah, great job, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Our next workshop is going to be on November 15th from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time. And you won't want to miss that one. It's John and Karen Krejcia, who are the founders of Autism Empowerment. They will be doing storytelling for good. And there's been a lot of interest in that so far. So I think it's going to be an awesome workshop. So yeah, I guess so. Thanks. Gwen, do you
And
want
then
to add anything?
next chill and chat is November 1st. There's no registration needed for those. Just I will send out an email to the members that has the same Zoom link in it as we use all the time. Those are at 3 o'clock. And There's no schedule. It's whatever you bring to the table you want to talk about. That's what we'll talk about.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a good rest of
Thank
the weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.